Welcome to a Brio TV Time Machine exclusive. In 2013, I was high atop Trump Tower in New York, talking to the man himself. Hear what Trump had to say back then about heroes and villains on television. That's next on Brio TV, the podcast. Hey kids, step inside the Brio TV Time Machine. Today, Monday, January 20th, is Inauguration Day in the United States. So everybody raise your right hand, and for those listening here at home, repeat after me. I promise not to give up my Canadian passport. This interview with Donald Trump happened in the summer of 2013, back when Trump was 67. It took place in the future president's large, but messier than expected, corner office overlooking Central Park atop the Trump Tower. My apologies for the sound quality, as it was recorded on a tiny tape recorder and not even a smartphone. This was a simpler time when the world was young. Now the stakes are much higher. Did I know then that I was in an interview with one of the world's most powerful and perhaps most dangerous people? No, I was there to interview the host of The Apprentice, a series that had slipped dramatically in the ratings in both the U.S. and Canada. There is no talk, therefore, of Trump running for president. The discussion does get political at one point as Trump weighs in on a conflict then raging in the Middle East. Listen as he dismisses diplomats who he feels should be replaced with dealmakers. These days, Trump does not hide his disdain for late-night talk show hosts. In fact, he'd like to lock a few up. I asked what he really thought about one who was coming to the end of a 30-year run at the time, David Letterman. You might be surprised to hear his answer. I also asked if he thought the era of the anti-hero was over on television. Shows such as The Sopranos had given way to more heroic dramas, with Tom Selleck set to return then for what would be a 10-year run on Blue Bloods. Did Trump consider himself a hero or an anti-hero? Listen to the end of this shorter than usual episode for that answer. It's huge. Here he is, back when he was apprenticing to become president, Donald Trump.
The Apprentice has always been very popular on Global. I think I was there when you came and launched it.
Right. It was for years. It's been like one of the top shows, and it continues. And in this country too, it continues to be a great success.
Yeah. Crazy. And there's a great appetite. Also, the Global just launched a new reality channel, and you're featured there as well.
Oh, good. Good.
So
the Global's been very nice, and they're very professional. So that's fun.
You're doing 2 editions this year?
Yeah, we're doing a regular and we're doing a celebrity.
Yeah.
And the regular goes on, I think, September 16th. And it's a Thursday night, and which is big, it's prime territory, right? Thursday is great, and I think it's going to be phenomenal. Yes, September 16th at 10 o'clock in this country. What is it?
Final cast day and date. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Okay, good. So that'll be a great time.
And
Thursday night.
Oh yeah. Usual number of contestants.
Yeah, we're going to have 15 contestants. The show is, I think, 13, 14 weeks, whatever. It's amazing. And what we did is we looked at the economy as being just, when I started The Apprentice, and if you remember, it went to the number 1 show many nights of the week.
Yeah.
When I started The Apprentice, the economy was good. And that was relevant to the show. Now the economy is horrendous for a lot of people. And, we have like a lawyer from Stanford who has no job. We have people, highly educated people that had great jobs that don't have jobs. One guy had a good job and 5 kids and a wife. Now he's got no job. I said, how do you live with 5 kids and no job? He said, not easy. And so it's very relevant to what's happened with the economy.
Do you think it's even more relevant? I mean, people are looking for answers even from television and looking for hope and inspiration.
I think that's what's happened, and that's what we're really stressing. Although, I will tell you, the show is very tough. We're just finishing shooting it, and the show is very, very tough. But it's also about hope, and it's about other things. But it's also a tough show, and these people really have to want it. They have to want it badly. But there's a lot of a hope aspect in here, which I didn't really put in the first versions of The Apprentice. It was nasty. This one is equally tough, but it's also aspirational.
It has to be tough. The world's tough.
And it wouldn't work if it weren't tough.
Right.
You want to know the truth? I mean, I watched Martha. I watched some of the other shows. We had 15 copies of, and to be honest, they were so soft, nobody's going to want to watch it. So it has to be tough, in terms of your business, right?
Yeah.
In terms of watching.
Back in a moment with the real Donald Trump. Once again, time to chat with Emily Gagne at Hollywood Suite. Emily, tell us what's new in the new year.
Well, it's a scary new year at Hollywood Suite. We've got lots of genre programming for genre fans. We've got, a new episode of Cinema A to Z focused on the apocalypse, so dystopian favorites from throughout history. But also, we've just got some great movies like Jason and the Argonauts, the remake of Dawn of the Dead, which I think is very underrated, and even Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, written by Roger Ebert.
Oh, a proud moment for Roger. Also, what else do you got? I hear you got a new series.
I sure do. It's called Kin. We've got season 2, never before seen in Canada. We also have season 1, of course.
Yeah.
But season 2, I like to describe this series as a mix of The Sopranos, Peaky Blinders, and Gomorrah.
Wow.
It's an Irish mob drama. So if you like any of those shows, I think you should definitely check it out.
Oh, but I like it too. An Irish mob drama. Where else can you find it but on Hollywood Suite? Thanks a lot, Emily.
Thanks, Bill.
And we're back with the Donald.
But do you find that you've changed, even as the host of this show, that people have a perception of you as, a very successful businessman, but also you're the guy who says you're fired? Are you like a kinder, gentler?
The funniest thing is that because I was very well known before I did the show, and the funny thing is I fire people and everyone thinks I'm a much nicer guy now than they used to before I went on television. Sort of a funny, strange thing. And what do? I fire people, right? But I think that, first of all, I don't think people change that much, and that's including me. I don't think I can change my personality overnight and say, oh, gee. But the fact is, we are very much into what's happened with the times, and the times are very bad. Actually, for this country, maybe more so than Canada. Canada's doing pretty good, right?
Our banks didn't get us involved in that.
No, your banks were smart. But if you look at Europe, if you look at times generally, I mean, they're bad.
It is tough in Canada, too. I make no mistake.
But isn't the economy pretty good in Canada?
The economy's pretty good, but there's joblessness, there's challenges.
I'm building a building in Toronto, which is doing very nicely. It's doing well. It's doing well. Good location.
When do you expect to have
good
that?
qualities? Well, it'll be finished fairly soon, and we've sold a lot of units. I mean, it's been doing very well.
Yeah, that's going to be quite a large building too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big one. It's, I think one of the tallest buildings in Toronto.
Yeah, exciting.
So it's going to be, I think, good. But I mean, frankly, that building in most places in the United States wouldn't work, and in Canada, I think it'll work very nicely. That'll be interesting.
You've shot most of this season already, then?
Yeah, most of it's shot. The finale is going to be live, and we do that for two reasons. Number one, it's more exciting, probably, and number two, it would be very bad if people knew who the winner was. We have 500 people on the show. Only one has to say, and that's the end of the show, right?
I just want to make sure you do this. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yep.
So we really think that it's going to be a big hit. And the other thing about regular, we had tremendous success with both.
Yeah.
And then we went to celebrity, and between Joan Rivers and Trace Atkins and Piers, look at what's happened to Piers. He's taken over Larry King. He's on America's Got Talent. Trace Atkins became the #1 country singer. Joan Rivers is hot as a pistol. Annie Duke is all over the place.
Piers might be the next idol judge, I guess, or you never know.
Oh, they might be thinking about it.
Yeah.
Piers, by the way, Piers would be a good choice.
I think so. You'd be a good choice.
A lot of people have said, I've been reading that. Everyone's telling me I'd be a good choice.
Fox hasn't been in touch.
Well, I better not comment. But I do like that idea.
You certainly have revived Joan Rivers' career, and I have to say, that episode where she and Melissa Haddad stormed out was probably the most riveting moment of reality television ever. I sat there with my jaw on the ground. It was fabulous. Yeah, it was really, really cool. Well, did it unfold as it appeared? Were you that cool?
It did, and it was very interesting because there was a point in the show where Melissa could have been fired very early. And, all things business, I thought, Joan is a great mother who loves Melissa very much. And it was between Melissa and this magnificently beautiful girl named Claudia Jordan, who was beautiful. And I fired Claudia. And for a while I regretted that. I said, that's a mistake. But I didn't want to lose Joe. And Melissa could have been fired that week. And it is very subjective, okay? Now, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's obvious who you have to go. Otherwise you lose credibility. And I can't lose credibility. But it could have been Melissa or Claudia. And Claudia is this magnificent, beautiful woman. And I fired Claudia very early in the show. And for a while I regretted that decision, and then after the blow-up I said, what a great decision that was, because people like you have told me that was one of the greatest moments they've ever seen on reality television. She went crazy.
Yeah, I sat there with the laptop, and I was hearing from people all over Canada, the U.S., and back and forth.
It was unbelievable. Remember, Joan actually was very late showing up the next day, remember?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't even know if she was going to come out. And then all of a sudden she came through the elevator. It was very good. I mean, it was very good talk. She's a trooper. Yeah. Joan is an absolute trooper.
It has a lot of great things to say about you. She was on Letterman the other week, and once again singled you out.
Oh, that's good.
She admired you and everything.
That's good. Well, Joan is great, and Melissa turned out to be great, to be honest with you. But I'm so glad I kept Melissa, because that moment, I had people that called me that were watching the show and doing other things like you playing with the laptop. And then all of a sudden they looked up and they couldn't believe what they were watching.
Yeah.
But we did something we've never done. We never show cameras. And she was running around screaming, we show cameras.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because if we didn't, you would have had to take certain scenes out.
She could get out of my face.
You have 3-4 cameras and they're all set up.
Yeah.
But she was running into the cameras, through the cameras, around the cameras. And you've never seen a camera, but you saw cameras on that. Yeah. I said, leave who cares? Right. Everyone knows there are cameras on it, so what's the big deal? You have these camera guys, they couldn't believe what was happening.
It was brilliant.
So it turned out to be a great decision keeping her.
Yeah.
Don't go away. As the Secret Service say, we'll be right back. Well, good news, Star Trek fans. Paramount Plus Canada is boldly going into 2025 with the premiere of the original movie Star Trek Section 31. The shot in Toronto feature stars Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh as Emperor Philippa Georgiou, so great as that kick-ass character in Star Trek Discovery. Here, she's tasked with protecting the United Federation of Planets. She must also face up to the sins of her past. The movie premieres Friday, January 24th. As for right now, all 8 seasons of Dexter and Dexter New Blood are available for Paramount Plus subscribers, along with new prequel series Dexter Original Sin. As for the kids, look for Henry Danger, the movie, premiering Friday, January 17th. It's based on the hit Nickelodeon live-action series. And remember, with a mountain of entertainment to choose from, there's always something for everyone on Paramount Plus. Well, we hear a lot about fake news these days. Well, here's some real fake news. The acclaimed Australian drama Fake premieres with 2 episodes starting January 16th on Super Channel Fuse. Magazine writer Bertie Bell meets successful grazier Joe Burt on a dating app and believes she's found her perfect match. But as the relationship intensifies, she begins to feel her boyfriend isn't all he has led her to believe. Inspired by Stephanie Wood's real-life memoir starring Asher Keddy and David Wenham. And good news, Hearties. Season 12 of the hit series One Calls the Heart is up and running now on Super Channel Heart and Home. The new season brings new stories about family, community, and of course, romance as things move further into the 1920s. Melissa Gilbert from Little House on the Prairie will guest star in a 2-episode arc this season in the role of Georgie McGill, who shares a surprising past with one special Hope Valley resident. And remember, Super Channel is available via most cable providers across the country, as well as streaming live and on demand with Amazon Prime Video channels, Apple TV Plus, and Fubo. And here he is again, the President of the United States.
You haven't shot the new celebrity version yet?
No, that starts in October 15th. We start shooting October 15th.
Okay. And
I got to go on in the spring.
It's early to ask who might be on that show.
Unbelievable cast. I will say this. Because of the great success of everybody that's been on the show, it's been, the people we have, you won't even believe, they're phenomenal.
Really?
Phenomenal. We have unbelievable people.
And
Now, the first one was hard. Because, the first one, nobody knew what they were getting into. Then they see Piers and Trace, and they see what happened to these people's career. I mean, Piers got America's Got Talent, and now he's getting Larry King. Trace Atkins was, in fact, I didn't want him because I said nobody ever heard of him. He was an unknown country singer, to a point where Clint Black, the following season, asked us to be on the show. What do you have, Larry?
nothing on Eric Roth. Bring
him up now. I'm ready. I'm almost ready. So Clint Black, who was, a very well-known singer, asked to be on, which in a way was a death wish, because it's almost impossible to pick two country singers in a row. Do we agree?
Yeah. I want to get a couple. I know the time's limited. It's just there's a trend this season. I just came back from LA when they had all the TCA and the new shows, and Tom Selleck's got a new show here in New York. William Shatner back with a series. A lot of familiar faces, and I've asked people. I hate to put you on the spot, but you're one of those guys on TV who never wears out his welcome, and that's kind of a unique quality. Do you have a theory why that is? Do you know why you think? Well,
I think because I say it like it is. I think because I mean, television's very complex. You say, is it the look? I don't mean the look like you're the most handsome person in the world, but there's a look somehow. Mm-hmm. Don King always says, it's the look. Now, it has to be a part of the look. It has to be a part of the attitude. It has to be a part of the fact that I don't give a shit. And it has to be a part of the fact I say it like it is. I'm very truthful. I'm very truthful.
Do you really not give a shit?
Less than people think, because if you care too much, it puts too much pressure on you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I think less. I'm also a realist. I mean, I look at this, and it's become this huge television show, but then you look over at Iraq today, and 100 people were killed with a bomb that was put in the middle of the street as our soldiers are leaving that mess.
Yeah.
Okay. No, you can imagine. I mean, what's going to happen the day they got? I mean, what we've done over there is incredible. I mean, that place will be a tinderbox for years to come.
Yeah, you've been very outspoken.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, we're over there losing lives and losing everything, and there's no control over it. I mean, all we've done is made it possible for Iran to take over. For 1,000 years they were like this, right? They go wah, wah, for 1,000 years. Now we've taken one of these hands and just cut it off, and Iran will take over. As soon as we're gone, Iran will take over, unless we do something, which perhaps we'll do, or perhaps we won't do. But it's so stupid, it's inconceivable. But I say that. A lot of people don't say it. What China's doing to this country, and to Canada even, but this country is incredible.
I saw you, I don't know if it was Larry King or something too, and I remember about 6 months before everything really went south, you were out there saying things are going to get bad.
Oh, I said that.
Yeah.
I predicted it.
Yeah.
And they'll continue to unless we get some people that know what they're doing with China, and unless we get some people that know what they're doing with OPEC. Because OPEC just sets the price of the oil. And look, it's the whole big thing. We don't use our best people. We don't use our smartest people to negotiate. We use diplomats that don't know anything about the art of negotiation. So it's a very sad thing for this country, to be honest with you, and to a much lesser extent, Canada. You're less dependent on what's going on.
Although as oil goes, so goes Canada.
Yeah, oil is good for Canada. And, from that standpoint, oil is good for Canada. So I think The Apprentice is going to have a great season. I think that there was a big clamoring from people to bring back the regular Apprentice, which actually surprised me because Celebrity has done so well.
Yeah.
But there's a group of people, and it's actually, it overlaps, but it's also a different group. There's some people that really like regular better than Celebrity, which sort of surprised me because, I would think Celebrity, the concept of Celebrity is a great concept. But there are many people that like regular better than Celebrity.
Well, I think there's a great appetite for it with the concept.
Hello, Eric. How are you? Give me 2 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Just wrapping up, I want to get a couple impressions from you. David Letterman, such an enigma.
Right.
We all want to interview him. We can't interview him. Can you tell me something about him that I maybe don't know?
Well, I know David very well. I do his show a lot. I think he's a great talent. I think he's a great guy. He's very, very reclusive. For instance, when I do talk shows, everybody comes back to meet me, talk to me before the show, calls me, they call me days before the show. Oh, we'll talk. Whereas David, you see him literally as you're walking onto the stage. He's very much an enigma. He's a very talented guy. He's a great guy. And actually, as you get to know him, because I've done the show many times, he's just a very talented guy. And he does have a big heart. But he likes Regis, he likes Trump.
That's true.
And you know what? And we like him.
Have you ever been to dinner with him?
No, he's
funny.
Not,
isn't that amazing?
Yeah, even Regis, he says, he's a friend of mine, but I don't think I've ever been out with him. He's a different kind of a guy.
And finally, I just want your perspective on TV. There's talk that, and then maybe this involves The Apprentice, that television is sort of moving away from anti-heroes like The Sopranos for years. And you had all these guys, tough guys on TV and dramas that were, kind of black and white, maybe more gray. Now we're maybe moving to more heroic stories. Tom Selleck playing the police captain.
Yeah, I think it'll always be both.
Yeah?
Yeah, it'll be both. There'll always be heroes. There'll always be the anti-heroes. And some days you'll have a little bit more than others of one or whatever. But it's always going to be. Look, people are always going to want the bad guy. And the worse the guy is, the better. And people are always going to want the heroism thing, too. So I think you can always have both. I don't think it may be shifting a little bit, but it'll go back.
Are you the hero or the anti-hero?
Definitely the anti-hero.
And proud of it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, there it was, my one-on-one with the future president of the United States, back when he was just a simple billionaire TV show host. I remember that there was more to our conversation, including a browse through the many ex-NFL trophies and photos that Trump had on the floor and the credenza and all over his office. By the way, when I left there, I was all the way down to the street level on Fifth Avenue before realizing that I had left my tape recorder running on his desk. Security let me back in to retrieve it, and Trump himself handed it to me, saying, "That old trick." True story. So my thanks to Citizen Trump for agreeing to the interview a dozen years ago and for not imposing tariffs on Canadian podcasts, I hope. Thanks, as always, to Phil Hong for giving the episode the presidential seal of approval. Thanks to BJ Del Conte, Paul Boudreau, and all the crispy critters, as well as my friend from high school, Stephen Dudley, a genius on the piano keys. Finally, thanks to you, listener. If you like what you heard, please spread the word. I'm Bill Brio. Thanks for listening.